The key to unlocking potential in your organization lies in these 7 keys. I'm going to share with you the exact strategy that I've used multiple times to take an assistant and turn them into a director of operations or an executive that actually runs the entire organization. Now, I've done this multiple times. This is not theory. This is how I've developed and unlocked potential to create extreme and significant results. My name is Skylar Lewis, and this is the Christian Business Mentor Podcast. Let's dive in. All right, so one of my first hires at Superior Cleaning, which was one of my first my second multi-million-dollar organization. We scaled it to $13 million. One of the first hires was a lady named Stephanie, and Stephanie was the office assistant. And so we ended up hiring Stephanie to support with assistant activities. And Stephanie became the woman that we eventually transitioned from an assistant to an office manager, to an operations manager, to the director of operations, to a COO, and to VP of ops of the entire organization. And this lady, right, over the last few years has become the most important role in our organization. And I'm going to share with you the exact steps that I've used. And kind of interestingly enough, at Rise Up Kings, which is a pretty successful organization, one of the largest faith-based organizations for personal development in the country, our director of operations is a lady named Jessica, who was also brought in as an assistant and has now scaled to running the entire organization. So this process is proven it works. If you want to develop your team or key team members, these 7 steps, these 7 keys will help you get there. I hope you're enjoying this video. I'm the founder of Rise Up Kings, the largest faith-based personal development organization in the country. And it's our mission to reach as many people as possible to help them live lives of excellence, all to glorify God. We do this through our content that you're watching now. We do this through our seminars. So if you're enjoying this, please subscribe and share. Let's get back to the video. All right, the first key is invest personally. So I'm going to write this out if you're watching on YouTube. Invest personally. So investing personally, what does that look like? It looks like you dedicating time to connect with them personally and also leveling up their personal habits and skill sets. And so I spent a lot of time early on, right, connecting and making sure that I was being available for these specific people. So for Stephanie, we had one-on-one, we had lunches, we had specific meetings where I was checking in and seeing how she was personally. How was her marriage going? What was some challenges in her life? What was her morning routine like? How could I best support her to be a high performer? So she knew that I was interested in her success, not only professionally, but personally. The second one is invest professionally. So invest professionally. And this is also key. So the things that I did was I specifically spent time coaching Stephanie one-on-one to make sure that she was sharpening her sword, that the axe was being sharpened, that she was more effective in business. And I did this on a weekly basis. So every time we had a one-on-one, I would figure out like what's not working and how could I help coach her through being more successful professionally. So that was one way. A second way is we read books. We're big, all of our organizations, we've always read books. So we had a monthly book reading that we would do, usually around leadership, management, or some professional aspect that would help her be more effective. And the third thing that we did is we sent her to seminars. So we sent her to personal development organization seminars and also professional development, whether it be an accounting seminar, a sales seminar, a marketing seminar, management seminars. Like we sent her to multiple events so that she could become skillful in the way that she operates. And so we were investing personally, but also professionally. The next one is develop their capacity. Specifically with Stephanie, I remember there were multiple years where she came into my office crying. Now, she came into my office crying because the way we build companies is we have a specific role, and then we usually give them more responsibility so we can start to expand their capacity. And when somebody on the team feels like they're hitting their capacity, they're hitting their threshold, they'll typically retreat back in because of the stress and the overwhelm. And so the key to increasing capacity is actually to push through the threshold to be able to continue to handle the workload by learning new skill sets, by becoming more organized, by learning how to manage that workload. Because if you retreat, you actually lose, you never increase your capacity. It's like building a muscle. If you stop working out when it's hard, your muscle will never grow stronger or larger. And so the goal is pushing through the threshold, which can be challenging at times. And so with Stephanie, my intention was helping her develop her capacity to where she was able to take more on. Because I knew that if I was going to promote her, right, the responsibility she had as an assistant would be much different than the responsibilities as an operations manager, and probably 5 to 8 times the amount of things and the number of tasks and responsibilities and just the thoughts that she would have to have on a regular basis to keep the operations running. It was significant. So I had to develop her capacity. So one of your top intentions when you're working with a team member that you want to develop is make sure they have proper workloads and make sure that you're supporting them on developing their capacity, because if you're a low capacity organization, you'll always have a hard time scaling quickly. But if you can build high capacity leaders, which are developed over time, scaling becomes much more effective and you scale much quicker. The next one is develop their skills. So not only developing capacity, but also developing their skill sets. So what are some ways that you can help them become more skillful? So if you're looking to develop a manager, right, I usually love to do one-on-one coaching to help them develop their skill set. So if they're having challenges with a team member, I coach them through what they could do to be more effective. And so my intention is figuring out what role I plan on putting this person in, and then what specific skill set they will need, what competencies they will need to be effective in that skill set. So if it's a marketing manager, what marketing skill sets does he need? If it is a salesperson, what sales skill sets need to be developed as quickly as possible? If it's an operations person, they're going to need to know some finance. They're going to need to know process. They're going to need to know management, leadership. There's multiple skill sets in an operations person that helps them be maximally effective. And so get clear on your team member and identify the specific skill sets that are needed for them to be successful, not only in their current role, but also in their future roles. The next one is speak life. I get it. Business and life can be difficult, and especially if business is stressful. Me personally, I tend to get in a very task-driven mode and where I am just throwing out orders, right? And what our team needs is they need life. And so what was effective with me is I continually built up the team members around me. So I would speak life into them. I would help them develop emotionally. I would help them actually become the person that I hope that they would become by speaking specific life into them. And so affirm your team, right? Affirm your team and help them actually level up through that affirmation, right? Because as people are moving into new roles, as they're getting promoted, they're going to have some insecurities that are going to come up. They're going to feel unsure about themselves. They're going to feel unsure about the workload. And so when you can affirm them that they got this, right? I believe in you. I know you can do this. It helps them really take that next level on. So make sure that you speak life into them. This is biblical. Proverbs 18:21 says, death and life are in the power of the tongue. And the next one is challenge them. As I write this out, right? Challenging your team, giving them difficult things that they can accomplish. Most high-level team members are achievers in nature. They love to produce results. And so giving them intentional challenges to help them become more effective, to help them grow, to help them develop. I know personally, like I want to be challenged. I want to be challenged on a regular basis, right? And there's time for rest. There is 100% time for rest. There's time for recovery, but challenging your team is really effective. And that could be by giving them a big project, or maybe by giving them responsibilities that are a little bit past what they're capable of at the moment so that they can step into this next level. So helping to challenge your team so they can rise up. And finally, support them either with process or with people. So supporting them looks like identifying their weaknesses and then setting processes in place. So how I did this was if I had somebody that maybe specifically with Stephanie, right? There were times where there were so many things to do that some things would be forgotten. So I taught her how to build specific spreadsheets that she could pull reports on a weekly basis, and she would never forget the most important reports within the organization. Then I helped her build a routine to look at those every week, an actual morning routine where she pulled up Google Chrome, she had a folder, she opened all the reports. It was a whole process. So what I've always done is I've supported my team, specific team members, with the tools, with the processes, with the bumpers, you could say, that help them be successful in areas that they were maybe weak. And so I did this with processes, but I also have done this with team members. So if a team member is maybe weak in details, but they're really effective in leadership, right, then I might support them with somebody that's highly operational and that can handle and loves details. So I'm supporting them not only with the process, but also with the people. And so this is always key, right? Your team members will not be perfect at everything. I'll repeat that. They are not going to be perfect at everything. They're going to have weaknesses. And so what you want to do is you want to help shore up the weaknesses so that they can be as effective as humanly possible, right? So they can run fast, and then also place them in roles where they're best suited, right? We've done some strength finders with our teams, and strength finders helps you identify what the specific strengths are. And so you want to make sure your team member is in the right seat while they're on your bus, right? You may have team members that could be really effective and high capacity, but in their specific role, it's out of alignment with their strengths, their natural gifts, and their talents. And so you want to get them in the most effective role possible. All right. So this is the specific list that I thought through on, hey, how do I take an assistant or somebody and how do I develop them up the ranks so that they can be at a place where they're either running the entire organization or they're just killing it in a role that they've been promoted into. I believe that part of our mission as entrepreneurs is to build people up. And so your role is to build people up, is to be a leader that represents Christ well. And if we look at Jesus and his disciples, he coached his disciples. He had hard conversations with them. He regularly poured into them. He spoke life into them. And he spoke very difficult things when it was needed. And so your role, right, your responsibility is to build up your team, and you can use these 7 keys to help you become more effective as not only a leader, but as a kingdom entrepreneur.